everybody? My name is Nick Murphy. That was too much of Board Game Gripes. Hold on. What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph, and this is You Can Solo That? You Can Solo That is a series where I go through games on our shelves that have a solo variant, a solo version, something like that, and then I play that solo variant, show you how to play it, and then review it for you. Just you. You know who you are. And today we're going to look at a game that it's actually very surprising I haven't done You Can Solo That for, because how have I not done one for this yet? This is one of the more popular games to solo, and that is Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars is a great game, one of our favorite games, and has a solo variant. And a lot of people really love playing this game solo. And I have played it solo many times. I've played it on stream. I've done other stuff. And for some reason, I haven't done a You Can Solo That for this. So I'm doing one now. And it's actually a little bit more beneficial in my opinion, because now there are a bunch of expansions out there for it right now. So we can talk about how the different expansions for it right now, for it right now, for it. So we can talk about how the different expansions solo as well, because you can play with everything just like you can in a normal game. You can just throw in any old expansion, take out this one, throw in this one. You can do the same thing in the solo game. Is it good to solo? Let's find out right now. Now, as I always say, I am not teaching the entire game. A whole new world. I'm not teaching the entire version of Terraforming Mars. I'm just teaching what is different in the solo game. So let's get it down to the table. We got our space mat ready to go, because it's a space game, kind of, not really though. But nonetheless, let's get it down to the table and let's see how it solos. All right, so this is the solo setup for Terraforming Mars Solo Edition. So Terraforming Mars Solo Edition plays pretty much exactly like Terraforming Mars with some teeny little things. So the setup, you're gonna set stuff up. Normally you have all the tiles out, your cards ready to go. You got your board set up here. You got some resources. Now, before we start, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you where these things are from, because I know someone's gonna ask, and even though I tell you, someone's probably still gonna ask down in the comments. But our overlay boards here are from Board Game Boost, and then our insert here with all this fancy stuff is from MeepleRealty.com. I will put links to them down in the description below so that you can go look at them if you want to. But I know someone's gonna ask, so I'm gonna say Meeple Realty, these are from Board Game Boost. So the setup for you is pretty much exactly the same. You're gonna get 2 of these corporation cards, and you're gonna go ahead and choose one to have for yourself. And then you'll get whatever money or special situation you get. You'll get 10 cards. You'll choose however many you want to buy. That whole thing is exactly the same for you. You also are not playing against like a dummy player, so you only need 1 player board and 1 player mat. There's not any kind of like dummy player blocking you or doing anything like that. You're mostly just playing against yourself, but there is some stuff on the board. So there are going to be 2 cities and 2 greenery tiles already on the board when you start. And how you decide where they go is you're going to draw 4 cards. And then on these 4 cards, you're gonna use the cost of these cards, which is in the top left corner, to decide where they go. So first you're gonna put down the city tiles, and you decide them by looking again at the cost. And you're gonna go in reading order, and you're gonna go 11 spots to place the first one, and then 18 spots to pick the second one. So let's do that right now. So the first one, we're gonna go in reading order from the top, and we're gonna go 11 spots. So essentially we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So this is a perfect example, because one thing you can't do is place it on a legal spot. This spot right here is reserved for an ocean. So in that case, you'll just go to the next spot, which will be right here, and place that one. And then for our second one here, we're gonna go 18, except for this one, we're gonna go from the bottom, just in case they end up landing in the same kind of area. So we're 18, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then this one is gonna go right here. And then for these greenery tiles, we're gonna pay attention to the same 2 numbers, except for now we're gonna go clockwise around the cities, and then each one is gonna get an adjacent greenery tile. So this one, we're gonna go around 18. We're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then this one is going to go right here. And then this one, we're gonna go 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this one will go right here. And the same rule applies where if it was an illegal placement, like on an ocean, you would just go to the next spot. Now, these are not owned by you, they're not owned by anyone, it's just to have some tiles already out there on the board. And these greenery tiles also do not increase the oxygen. And your Terraform rating is not going to start up here at 20, but actually at 14 where it says solo. So that's the basic setup for Terraforming Mars Solo Edition. It's more or less exactly the same with the exception of these. So let's go over the goal. The goal of the game is you need to max out heat, max out oxygen, and put all 9 oceans out just like you do in a normal game. But the thing is you only have 14 generations to do that. Once all 14 generations are done, if you have not finished all 3 of those maximizations, you lose the game. If you do have that at the end of the game, then you basically get to count up your points and see how many points you got. But the main goal is to get heat, oxygen, and oceans all maxed out, and if you do that, you win. And that's it. That's the only difference in the solo game. Other than that, you play totally normally. The only minor differences is there are no awards or milestones because there's no one to compete against, and also you always have like a neutral person to steal from. So if you're playing a card that allows you to like steal someone's plants, those cards you can just steal from an invisible person. So those cards aren't like null now because you're not playing against anyone. Other than that, it's exactly the same. So let's go ahead and go through the expansions and look at what's different in those. The first expansion is the Hellas and Elysium board. You can play this board if you want to. That's basically it. There's nothing different. It's just kind of like a normal game. If you want to play with these boards, play with these boards. If you don't, then I don't know, play with the normal board. Whatever, dude. But what if you're playing with the Venus Next expansion? Well, if you're playing with the Venus Next expansion, it's basically exactly the same, except for now you have to max out heat, max out oxygen, put out 9 oceans, and max out Venus. You have to do all 4 to win the game. It's very difficult. So that's it. That's the only expansion. The only difference is in the Venus Next expansion, they introduced something called the World Government, and that's to keep the game moving along. What the World Government is at the end of the round, whoever's the start player gets to choose to increase something one time. So like put out an ocean, or increase the heat, or increase the oxygen, or increase Venus. You wouldn't then get the bonuses, but it's just to kind of keep the game moving because it can start dragging out. So in the solo game, you still have the World Government and you always get to choose what goes up. It's the same where if you land on a bonus spot, like you increase -2 Celsius to 0 Celsius, you don't get to put out the ocean, so you want to look out for that. But other than that, it's exactly the same, except for now you have to get to the top of Venus track and you have the World Government helping you out. But what if I'm playing with Prelude? Well, Prelude is basically exactly the same. And just like a normal Prelude, you will get 4 of these Prelude cards and keep 2 of them and then do whatever they say, which usually gives you kind of a jump start or a little bonus to start off with. The only difference in Prelude is you only have 12 generations to get the heat all the way up, all the oxygen out, and all the oceans out. And if you're playing with Venus as well as Prelude, you can mix them all. You would also have to get Venus all the way up in 12 generations. The reason for that is because these Prelude cards always give you a jump start. They give you a bonus. You're starting with production. You're starting with more money. It's just a way to kind of speed up the beginning of the game. But the thing is, speeding up the beginning of the game makes the game easier in the solo game, so they give you 2 less rounds to do it in. But Prelude actually comes with a second way to play the solo game. There's a second solo variant. It's pretty simple, but now you don't care about the global parameters. You don't care about the heat, you don't care about the oceans, you don't care about the oxygen. Your only goal is to try and get to 63 by the end of 14 generations if you're not playing with the Prelude cards, or 12 generations if you are playing with the Prelude cards. So now you don't care about finishing these. The only thing you're trying to do is get your person all the way up to 63. If you get to 63 by the end of 14 or 12 generations, you win. But what if I'm playing with the Colonies expansion? Well, if you're playing with the Colonies expansion, I'm sure you can guess it's more or less exactly the same. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take all the different colony tiles here and you're gonna give them a little shuffy, and you are going to draw 4 of them, and then you get to choose which 3 you want to play with. So you go ahead and choose whatever 3 you want, and then you put the cubes on their starting markers, which is usually on the 2nd spot, and then you play per normal. The only other changes is because Colonies makes it easier to get different resources, you start at a -2 mega credit production. And other than that, Colonies plays exactly the same. You're doing all the stuff, you're setting out tiles, playing cards, you're trying to get everything max out by 14 generations, or 12 if you're playing with Prelude, or if you're playing with the other Prelude one, you're trying to get to 63. Terraform rating, you can go ahead and do that. So that's one thing about these expansions is literally every single one you can just throw in and play with. You can play with Colonies and Venus or Colonies and Prelude. And you can play that normally, but you can also solo it. Everything here can be mix and match, play however you want for the solo version. And that is how you solo Terraforming Mars and all its expansions. So that was Terraforming Mars. Nailed it first try. So what do I think about Terraforming Mars solo? I like it. I think it's good. Basically, it comes down to, do you like Terraforming Mars? Okay, then you'll probably like it solo just fine. There's not really any difference. I mean, there's less player interaction because you don't have a player to play against, but like, there's not a ton of player interaction in the first place. Mostly on the board, you can like take spots that other people wanted for their tiles. And if you're playing with the drafting one, you can kind of hate draft or draft stuff for yourself. But like, it's basically the exact same game, as you can see. So teaching the solo game, as you can see, is very, very easy because it's like, what's different? It's like, not much. You have 14 rounds. Go. The main thing I can say is different is if you really like the drafting part of Terraforming Mars, which is something that I absolutely loathe and we don't play with, so to me it's not a big deal. But if you really like that drafting part of it, you think that's a huge part of the game and absolutely essential, the solo game may not quite be as much for you because you're really at the mercy of the cards you draw, which is one of the main reasons why people like the drafting variant in Terraforming Mars is because you get to see more cards. You have more control over the cards that you're getting. We never play that way because honestly, I think it slows down the game too much. And the solo game plays like that, where you don't have a choice. You just get the 4 cards you get at the beginning of each round, and you kind of have to develop your strategy around that. But the main problem with that way of playing is that you can kind of get hosed by your card draws. And that's normal if you're playing it with multiplayer or if you're playing it solo, is if you just get no cards that are with the strategy you're going for and you're not able to adapt strategies, or you're just getting bunk ass cards that don't give you anything good, it can be nigh impossible to get this game won. And on the other hand, if you just get banger card after banger card after banger card, it can make the game really, really easy to do. It almost always will take you 12, 13, 14 generations. I think the earliest I've ever won this game is 13 generations. It's still gonna take you most of the time, and it's gonna feel, I don't know how I'm gonna get this done. But like, there are some times where it's just like, I'm just gonna bang this out real quick. It's gonna be super easy, boom, boom, boom. But again, to me, that's not a huge deal. I don't really care. Because like I said, even then, it usually goes the full 14 generations. And this is a game where halfway through, you're just like, how am I ever gonna get this done? This is incredibly difficult. How am I gonna get all 3 of these things just by myself in 14 turns? But a lot of times you can end up pulling it out. You can just like do all these cool things and play this and play this and do this. And you can make it work. And it's stressful, but possible. And I like that in a good solo game. Difficult, stressful, but possible. And that's very much what Terraforming Mars, the base game, is. So I like it a lot. Now let's go through the different expansions. So let's start off with Hells and Elysium. Again, there's nothing different. You're just a new board. Sure, if you want to play with a new board, do that. Go for it. Wonderful. I love it. I like the blue and the green on the Hells and Elysium maps. Has nothing to do with anything else. I just like the fact the track's a different color. So sue me. And then the next expansion was Venus Next. Venus Next was not really anything different, except for now you have to get the Venus track all the way up. And I'm going to say, I've never won this one. It is really, really difficult to get the Venus track also all the way up, even with the new world government interference kind of thing where the government's moving things up. It's still so difficult. I don't know if it's just me or if it's just whenever I've played with that one, it is very, very difficult. But if you want a greater challenge, play with Venus Next. You'll also get the more cards and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's not any different. It's just one more thing you have to do. So Venus, in my opinion, is okay. It makes it a little more difficult and honestly doesn't add that much to the game. Next is Prelude. Prelude is great. I like Prelude. I think Prelude is like the most essential expansion of Terraforming Mars. I think all the expansions kind of come and go. Like, I think they've all been pretty insubstantial. Prelude is, in my opinion, by far the best one. I also think it's that way for the solo game. The Prelude cards jumpstart your engine. They jumpstart the game. And so you have less time to complete the things in. I think that's cool. I also like that they give you a different way to play the solo game. That way is also difficult, also fun, but you get to focus on something else. Instead of always trying to increase these things, you get to focus on just straight up points. Like, I'm just trying to get my Terraform rating up and up and up and up and up. Now, increasing oxygen, increasing temperature also does that. It gets your Terraform rating up, but it's nice to have something else a little bit to focus on, which is pretty cool. And last is Colonies. The Colonies expansion is again, kind of more the same. If you know how to play Colonies, you'll know how to play this with Colonies. It's not really any different. But Colonies, I think, is the one that actually makes it easier. Colonies, because the different colonies you have give you different resources. Like you can sometimes get more plants, you can sometimes do this or do this. It makes the rest of it a little bit easier because you have something else you can do that's a guaranteed way to get you some different kinds of resources. So Colonies is also all good. And one thing I like about it is just like the normal game, you can mix and match. You can play with Colonies and Venus Next, or Prelude in the base game, or Prelude in like Hellas and Colonies, or throw them all into one big smorgasbord. You can kind of do whatever you want. All that kind of stuff just makes it a little bit more interesting. And I like that with this solo game as well, is you can pick and choose whatever kind of solo game you want to play. And I think that's nice. I think that's interesting. So that's basically my verdict. I think it's just fine. I like it a lot. It's probably the solo game. It's not the solo game I've played the most, but it's probably in the top 3 because it's just kind of like, you know, you're playing solitaire with yourself. It's nice. It's relaxed. You're still thinking, you're still strategizing, but it just kind of feels like you're playing Terraforming Mars alone, which is really what it's supposed to be. So nonetheless, I like it a lot. Down in the comments, let me know, do you like Terraforming Mars solo? Do you have the expansions? What expansions do you like soloing with? Which ones do you not like soloing with? Put all that down in the comments and just overall tell me what you think about this game. And while you're down there, as always, please click that thumbs up button. That thumbs up really, really helps us more than you know, honestly. And also while you're down there, click that red subscribe button. Subscribe to us if you haven't already. So until next time, my name has been Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph, and this is You Can Solo That? Have a good one.
Hey guys, I just want you to know that we have a Patreon, and I'm hanging in here waiting for the next patron, so maybe you guys can help me out before I fall, because I don't have much strength, man. I might go down. Also, you can subscribe to us. I feel really unsafe. I think I'm gonna fall.
Mike. Huh? What are you doing? You're attached to a rope.
Well, yeah, but it still looks dangerous.
Like that rope can hold up a Camry. You can just let go, you know.
Can I?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Are you sure? You want to see?
You shouldn't just, yeah, you're fine.
Oh.
You're fine. You shouldn't, you know, abuse the Patreon thing like that, you know.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I need to be taken down a peg or two. Can you lower me?
Lower?
Sorry. You can still subscribe if you want.
Yeah, you know.
You can upgrade your game experience with Game Toppers LLC if you want.
Yeah.
Or check out Restoration Games. But you know what? Don't do it for me and my fear-mongering tactics. Okay, well, you know what?
Hey, that was on you.
Did you see
that
that?
was on you.
Did you see that? That's on record.